British Islamists in love with the Taliban. This is going to be great. In a recent episode of the Muslims Uncensored podcast, journalists from the British Islamist media outfit, Five Pillars, expressed open admiration for the Taliban's rule in Afghanistan, praising the absence of Western influences like alcohol, clubs, and public displays of women. This episode, which aired on the third anniversary of the Taliban's takeover, sparked criticism for promoting extremist ideologies. Founded in 2013 by journalist Roshan Muhammed Salih, Five Pillars was created to challenge perceived Islamophobic biases in Western media. However, the outlet has frequently been criticized for its hardline stance on Islamic governance, anti-Western rhetoric, and for giving a platform to extremist voices. Accusations of supporting groups like accusations of supporting groups like the Taliban. I mean, I don't even think it's like an accusation at this point. Like in the clip that
I mean, they
we'll show
say
that
it.
they talk,
How
they
is it
say
an
it.
accusation? They brag about it. What the
They
hell?
say it.
Yeah.
So promoting anti-Semitic and anti-secular views and fostering division within the Muslim community have raised concerns for its role in radicalizing young Muslims and undermining integration efforts in the United Kingdom. Um, so this should we just roll the clip, Armin?
Yeah, I have a question though. How is it? Isn't the Taliban considered a terrorist group in the UK? Is it officially recognized as a terrorist group?
I believe so.
Okay, and isn't it in the UK? Not that I endorse any limitation of freedom of speech, but I mean, isn't in the UK? Are you allowed to support terrorist groups? Isn't that like against the law?
Well, I mean, I don't know what the law is like in the UK. Let me be perfectly clear. I'm
Mm,
more familiar with the issues of providing material support if you were in the United
mm,
States. Um, so there's there's different kinds of support. And again, I can only speak for as an American. There's different kinds where it's like um in support in word or in deed, material support as in providing like funds and stuff. There's all sorts of different levels and different regulations depending on what form it takes. That's all American though. I don't know about the UK, but from their perspective, they are journalists. They are a media
mm.
outlet. And so they are going to Afghanistan to make documentaries about what they perceive life is like in Afghanistan, to showcase it from their perspective, to interview officials in their role as journalists. So that's their approach. Like they are not a charity
Mm.
in to my knowledge. They're doing this as a function of their freedom of press. That's my understanding. Now, um again, I don't know what kind of rules and regulations the UK literally has around those kinds of things. I know the American model, which is obviously very different than the UK model because they have tons of free speech restrictions nowadays that wouldn't last a day and well, not last a day. I'm being they'd be unconstitutional in America. So, you know.
Yeah.
Um
So, okay, let's listen to what he has to say. Okay, should I play it all the way through? It's 4 minutes. Let's listen to it all the way through, and then we can comment on it. I'll take notes.
mhm,
Hold on.
go for it.
Let me get my note. Let me get my notepad so we don't have to interrupt this guy. All right,
You can interrupt if you want.
let's. No, no. Let's. I want to listen to the entirety of it before pausing, and then I'll just take notes.
Even fellow Muslims from other Muslim conservative Muslim countries may find aspects of Afghan life under the Islamic Emara a bit different, but other things won't come as a different. Other things may be.
Wait, I said I'm not going to interrupt, but I have to mention to people what he means when they say Emarat. Right? They're talking about the Taliban as the government. Okay, so Emarat means that's what the Taliban refers to the government. So sorry, not pausing anymore. Let's listen to this.
Even fellow Muslims from other Muslim conservative Muslim countries may find aspects of Afghan life under the Islamic Emara a bit different, but other things won't come as a different. Other things may be celebrated. For example, you never did you see a single woman being advertised anywhere?
Oh no, of course not. Yeah,
Did you hear music anywhere?
no.
Do you know what the brothers said to me? They said to me, and by the brothers I mean the brothers that I was with, the entourage, and the brothers that were hosting me, that were not part of the government or anything like that. They were like, we can guarantee you that there's not a single bottle of alcohol sold in this country. No one is licensed to sell khamar in this country. There's not a single pig here for the taste and the likes of tourists. There's no clubs and discos. There's no betting houses.
There's no LGBT pride.
There's
marches.
nothing. There's none of this stuff.
We are living in we're living in Dar al-Kufr here. That is an accurate description. We are living.
Do you see Britain as home though?
I do not see Britain as home. No.
Well, not at all.
I do not feel at home here. I just find it difficult, like a believing, practicing Muslim who knows his or her deen, feeling comfortable in the pit of Dar al-Kufr. I find that contradictory. I don't know how they can do that.
You can.
I don't think we should feel comfortable here.
Okay.
Or future generations.
Okay, fair. No, you're right in that regard. But I think there's enough accommodation in non-Muslim countries, Roshan. Let's be frank about it, brother. There's enough accommodation, at least in Britain, not France, but at least in Britain, where you have enough options and services there where you can kind of live in a Muslim bubble. Let's be honest about it. Alam Rock, parts
Then
of
you
East
turn on the
London,
radio and in the car, and the first thing you hear is Taylor Swift or whatever, and
then switch it up to something else, innit?
yeah, no, but it's just like
When are you going to
you look at the billboards and there's naked women, and it's kind of.
I don't know if you saw this while you were out there because you were so busy, but there was a massive reaction.
Oh, we definitely saw
from
it.
Oh, yeah,
all
I
of
saw
the- from all of the Western,
Yeah.
pro-West Afghan diaspora,
Yeah.
basically.
These are people that either collaborated with the occupation, they benefited from the occupation, they worked under the occupation, they enjoyed the kind of religious laxity of the occupation. They have fully adopted Western notions of freedom and women's rights and these kind of things. They liked having discos and clubs. They liked having these kind of places where men and women mix frequently. They liked having. So there's a spectrum of that stuff.
That's why they're annoyed, because they can't go to Kabul and do a disco
Some of them,
night out or something
because
like that. They want silly feminism in Afghanistan. They see you going there enjoying yourself and having a whale of a time, and they can't do the same thing.
A lot of these people
get annoyed and
that
jealous.
emigrated, or they left the country after 2021, they were opportunists. They didn't have to emigrate. They weren't
chose
under
to.
any threat.
Many
Because
chose to.
are we pro-Taliban?
You don't have to.
You're the editor. You tell us.
I wish them a lot of success. So I'm supportive of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, but I consider myself to be a critical friend. Not that they care; they don't care what I think, and fair enough. They shouldn't care what I think, but that's my position. So are we pro-Taliban? A little bit, yeah. I don't think British Muslims should send their girls to school here. By the way, I think they should withdraw their kids from school,
Maybe-
especially the girls, because it's corruption, it's facade. 100%.
Yes.
We need someone like the Taliban to come here
Oh, God.
and shut down education and fix it up. Fix it up.
Can we edit that, please?
Let's cut that bit out.
How dare Afghans that live here go over there and lecture, or anyone go over there and lecture them about education, when the education here is nowhere near as good as it should this country in terms of women's rights? It's a bloody disgrace.
I have so much to say. We could be here till
I
tomorrow.
I know. Okay, because here's the thing, guys. I'm very critical of the sources that we use. And Memory TV, who put together that clip that we just watched, has been accused of taking people out of context, when creating clips of them. So Armin and I both went and watched the full interview. And I went to go watch some other content that they put out where they interview Talibs themselves, and to get a more full picture of what they're saying. And when it comes to memory, I try to do that as much as possible. I try to go watch the full khutubs as much as possible. Of course, when it's in a different language, I can't do that. But so we can really report to you guys, what is being said in the context, what are their actual positions. So Armin, what are your initial reactions? And then I'll probably want to build on top of a few things.
Right. So, I mean, a lot of people are going to first say, then why wouldn't you go there if you like it? Right. And if you actually watch the whole thing, they admit that they like some of the lifestyle that they have in the West. So, and a lot of people who come to the West, they're not coming for the liberal values or the values that they have in these Western countries. These are economic migrants. They're coming for a better economic opportunity. And also, so there were some disagreements between them whether they consider UK home or not. And you
Mhm.
could see that they mentioned that this area, one of them considers the Britain to be Daro Kofar, means that the land of infidels, the land of disbelief,
The
right?
pit. The
Um,
pit of Dar
so he,
al-Kufr.
yeah, so he considers Britain not to be home, but the other guy, the Dili guy, he was like, he still considers it to be home, but they're jealous of Afghanistan. So basically, the ideal for the Dili guy is to have the lifestyle of the UK, but the values of Afghanistan. And when I was watching the entire interview, I kept on hearing myself telling him that, do you not get that one of that lifestyle comes because of those values? There's a reason why you have that lifestyle in the UK.
You
It's
don't
a
just mean
natural
lifestyle, you mean
the
wealth,
natural
prosperity.
we have wealth and prosperity. He wants to be the level of comfort that he's enjoying. So he can't live in Afghanistan. He doesn't want to live in Afghanistan because he's enjoying a certain lifestyle that he has access to in the UK. But he wishes that he had the not like alcohol was banned, pork was banned, LGBT was banned. The in school they weren't teaching people about
Transgender
the
stuff,
children.
basically.
Well, no, they're not just against transgender stuff. They're against all forms of sex education or gender
Mhm.
education that we know that is helpful. Like I know there are things in school that they teach to children that we will be opposing as well, right? But there's certain level of gender and sex education that a lot of conservatives are against that is have been proven to be useful, that protects children against sexual harm. They're they're throwing out the baby out with the bathwater. They think like any form of sexual education in school is bad. And when they're saying silly feminism, so a lot of you in the live chat are like, yeah, okay, well, they're right about that. Well, no, because the feminism that they're against is not the feminism that you're thinking of. The feminism that you're thinking of is third and fourth wave feminism. What they call silly feminism is the right to vote, is the
Like
right to be
like
free,
basic
is
women's
the
rights.
yeah, they're thinking the silly feminism is the right to be able to wear what you want, is to be able to go outside without a guardian or without the permission of your husband or your father. That's what they call silly feminism. Okay, so that's the feminism they're against. So I mean, I could play that video and analyze every second of it, but there was a part of this video that did now that I realized it didn't make it in, and I wish it did, because there's a contradiction in it. Because they are at one point he agrees that he's trying to attack the liberal values, Western values, and he says Muslim coming to the UK, it's not because these are good values. Muslims coming to the UK or other Western countries, they actually they want Islamic values. They're coming here because of economic opportunities, not because they want your feminism or your secularism or your freedom. They still want Islam, but they're economic migrants. But then at some point, he mentions at the very end of it, close to the end of it, he mentions that uh, people should stopping us. They should let us basically praise the Taliban, because if you guys want us to go to these countries, then let us promote them. Like, why are you standing in our way, why are you criticizing us, telling you how amazing the Taliban and Afghanistan is? That's what you want. You want
Wait,
Muslims
let
to
me let
leave
me
the
make
UK
that a bit
and go
more
from
clear to the audience. Let me make this more
yeah,
clear to the audience. So Dili
right.
Hussein who's the deputy editor of Five Pillars, made an argument. And his argument was that for all the far right people in what he categorizes as far right, people in the UK that say, that basically don't want us here, that don't want us to be practicing our religion here. His argument is that they should encourage us to build stronger connections to the motherland so that we can basically make hijrah, or basically migrate for the sake of Islam, back to our homelands so we can go live the proper Islamic lives that we want. They should actually encourage that. Because he's basically went
Right.
on to say the idea that you're going to deport all of us is not going to happen. It's a delusional dream. And he's right. It is a delusional dream. And that's why we say it all the time to people encouraging that kind of stuff in our live chat. It's delusional to think that you're just going to deport everyone. It's just not going to happen.
But his solution is not
So-
going to work.
No,
But
but
his
let me finish.
solution is-
Let me
yeah,
finish
yeah,
elucidating his opinion.
Yeah.
So he went on to say, that's not going to happen. You should encourage us to build strong connections to our motherlands. For him, that's Bangladesh. And then we would feel moved to migrate back there willingly and voluntarily. But instead, what happens when we build strong connections to our motherlands, as he would put it, we are accused of dual loyalty. We are accused of not loving, not loving, but not being like a part of the UK. So he's basically saying that we can't win either way. We can't win either way, but these far right people should actually be encouraging us to build a strong tie to our home country so that we would willingly want to leave. And in terms of the accusation of dual loyalty, I have to say that that's actually an accusation that I really hate towards many groups of people. When there are Jews that are accused of dual loyalty towards Israel and America all the time, I think that's wrong. I don't think that's okay. I think that any group that has recent memory of migrating from another country is going to likely have strong emotional feelings towards that country of origin, and that's normal. I hate it when immigrants are accused of dual loyalty. I think it's really wrong. If someone said that towards my friends that are Iranian and feel passionately about the issues affecting Iran, and they're like, you have dual loyalty, I'd be like, that's disgusting. Don't say that. That doesn't make them.
But it's correct. It's okay, but it's not a false thing to say. It's false if you consider it negative. And it is negative with these guys. Okay, so if you, for example, let's say if you are Israeli American and somebody says you have dual loyalty, I would say yes, and I would see it a good thing. You're an Israeli and you're American. You should have dual loyalty. If you're Iranian and you're American, if you love America and love Iran, yeah, you have dual loyalty, and good job. You have dual loyalty. Iran as a country, not the Islamic Republic, right? The problem with these mofos is that the dual loyalty, that's problematic. If you're loyal to America and you're loyal to Israel and you're an American citizen, yes, be loyal to Israel, and being loyal to Israel is not a problem as an American citizen. But if you're a British citizen or an American citizen and you're loyal to wanting an Islamic caliphate taking over the entire planet, okay, yes, I will accuse you of dual loyalty, and I will see it as problematic. Actually, it's not dual loyalty. It's actually, you're right, the accusation of dual loyalty is right, because they're not loyal to Britain anyways. I wish you had dual loyalty, because that would mean that you are loyal to Britain as a country. You want an Islamic takeover of this country. You're only loyal to an Islamic caliphate, and you're actively working against this country that you're a citizen of. So yeah, dual loyalty would not be an accurate accusation. It would be
preferable.
It would be preferable. I wish it were. Right.
Well, because for what it's worth, Dilly, who we have many criticisms of, an obvious very key central ideological disagreements with, he actually considers himself, all that being said, I'm going to start watching Five Pillars a lot more because I found their videos really interesting and really refreshing. And people are going to be like, Susanna, what do you mean you found these Islamists like talking refreshing? I found it very refreshing because these guys are very honest about what they believe. They're very honest, they're very straightforward, and what I found most refreshing was that they when you watch them talk in the fullness of the interview, not a clip, they actually have a very high degree of self-awareness and honesty within themselves. So for example, they had a discussion among themselves about like, you have a lot of admiration for the lifestyle of the Taliban, like you have an admiration for what it's like to live in such an Islamic society. Would you make hijrah there? Would you go live there? And they had an
Hijra means
honest discussion.
migration, guys.
Yeah. They had an honest discussion. They were like, to be honest, no. Because and they even said, if I went, I would have to live a privileged life. I would only go if I could live a privileged life. And they continue. They say, well, if I was by myself, like I would if I was by myself, I would go. But I have the women in my family to care about. And I know that the women in my family couldn't live this way. They wouldn't live this
But
way.
well,
And
there's disagreements there. So I don't know what the guy on the right here. So there's two guys. So Dilly, this guy, hold on. He is enjoying the lifestyle in the UK. He doesn't appeal to the woman in his family. He's like,
he
yeah, I'm
does.
not gonna go
He
to
does.
Afghanistan. No, but yeah, but he himself also mentions that he likes the lifestyle, right? In here in the UK. This other
Mhm.
guy here on the right, okay, he is like, no, like I hate the UK. This is Darul Kufr. I wish I could go live in Afghanistan. Maybe like he can't go because of, I don't know, other women in his family. Maybe he uses, I don't remember. He uses them as an excuse, but he wishes he could go to Afghanistan and live there. This guy, right?
Well, it just
But
no, not
but
Afghanistan specifically, but an Islamic country.
oh,
But he
and
does
Islam,
reference
what?
that he wouldn't go because he has his family to take care of and
Right.
the women in his family who he cares for. And
But that's such a stupid excuse because the Muslims who did hijrah from Mecca to Medina, they had families. They had like, why do you guys like you using your families as an excuse, even though your role model, the people at the time of Muhammad, they went through so much hardship to do hijrah from Mecca to Medina, and they had families. They didn't use their families as an excuse. How come you're using your families as an excuse? So I don't know. You guys have tasted the fruits of liberalism too. It tastes good. It's just you have gotten too comfortable in living in liberal countries. This is the dunya. You're choosing the dunya over the akhirah. You're choosing this world over the afterlife. So there you go.
but
You've
they
been
do also openly talk about to make hijrah, it's considered to be such a good deed because it requires sacrifice. Like they're very self-aware about those elements, and I found that really refreshing. Like they aren't mincing words. And to that end, they're also very honest about their criticism of the Taliban. In this interview, they talk about the ways in which they think that they're too extreme. And they go back and forth about, is there Islamic justification for these things? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. And this guy on the right, Roshan, he's the founder of Five Pillars. He goes on to talk about how he thinks that the issue of women's education is very important in Afghanistan because he says, he's like, I have a desire or a wish for women to live fulfilling lives in Afghanistan, basically implying that he doesn't think that that is the case right now. He wants it to be within the restrictions of Islam, and he thinks that it's not a good thing that the Taliban itself tells these men that that issue is not a priority for them right now. They're like, that's unfortunate. We like that's why I won't take my family on a tour to Afghanistan because they won't be able, they can't like leave the house very much. Like, and
This
go
shows
ahead.
this what this means. What this means, okay, because what he's saying is not according to Islam, right? But he lives in a liberal country where the women in his family have become too powerful for him to be able to control them,
Oh
right? So
shit.
that's what has happened. The women in his family have enjoy a certain level of freedom and education and rights, and they have enough authority in his household. And if he wants to take them to Afghanistan, they're going to be like, "F you!" Like, what the hell? Like, we're not going to be able to live the lives that we want in Afghanistan. Because so that the reason why he loves the Taliban, but he does not endorse, he endorses them 90%, not 100%, because they created an environment where he cannot take the woman of his family too. But the complaints that he has is contradictory to Islam. Like, basically, the Taliban, every position the Taliban has regarding women is completely in accordance to Islam. Everything that he says that I want for the woman in my family that I cannot have in Afghanistan is in accordance to liberal values. It doesn't come from Islam. It comes from the lifestyle that the women in your family are enjoying in the UK. So he has been liberalized. I mean, only 10%. The 90% he still agrees with the Taliban. But this shows how this shows how empowering women is important. Because even this guy who wants to endorse Taliban, he cannot endorse them 100%, and he cannot go live there because the women in his family have at least enough power for him to not be able for him not to do that. You know, that shows how women empowerment basically weakens Islam.
That's an interesting way of putting it. You know, when I listen to him in good faith, I get the feeling that it comes from an actual loving care and desire.
Yeah, but that's not contradictory. But because if you are used to the if you live in an environment where your wife and your daughter speaks back, complains, or wants things, and it's wants a certain level of freedom or progress or career or things to look forward to, and it has been normalized in your mind that this is okay, then when you're caring for them, you will consider those things as things that they should be able to have, right? But because it's not like if you are living in a more conservative family, Islamic family, you think that you're not being kind to them. You're still thinking that you're being kind to them, but you think this is how you are kind to women. This is what they need. They need to be protected. They need to be indoors. They need to be covered. They need to be saved from Western education or education as a whole. That's how, in both cases, you're convinced that you're showing them kindness. You convince yourself that you're being kind to them, but in one sense, the kindness that you're showing has been normalized in a more liberal way, and another one in a more. I don't think this is being. I don't think he thinks like, oh, I wish I could keep my woman in a household and cover them up completely and put niqab on them, but I can't because they're too powerful.
No, I don't think that
That's
either.
not. That's not. I don't. Yeah, that's not what I'm suggesting. I'm just suggesting that something has been normalized. The normalization of women get to do these things in your mind comes because he lives in the UK, and I don't think he understands that he gets that from living in a liberal country. Or else the
Mhm.
Taliban everything is everything the Taliban is saying regarding the controlling a woman. I mean, the only thing that is questionable whether this is completely Islamic or not is the covering of the face. That is an internal Islamic debate that different scholars in Islam could have disagreements with whether it's required or not to cover the face. There are many conservative Islamic scholars that would argue that no, that's not required. That you could cover the hair, the face could show, basically your hands and the face could show. um but everything else, I mean, some scholars say like, no, in certain situations the face should be covered as well. But that's a disagreement that Muslim scholars have. But everything else the Taliban does, basically withholding education unless very rare circumstances. For example, a few women can be doctors, a few women could be working in security jobs because we need female doctors to do to basically so women don't have to go to male doctors. We do need a few security women working in security because when you're basically doing security check, you want women not to be touched by men. But those are very small numbers of educated or professional women that we need. But the vast, like 98% of women should be focused, staying in the home, only get enough education so that they could read the Quran and Hadith, and the rest of their lives should be focused on serving their husband and raising children. That is the Islamic way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they did talk about how, like, in terms of girls' education, they want there to be more options for the girls, whether that is homeschooling or online education. The idea being that it's only a ban on girls going to school physically after 12. They can continue their education after 12, just not literally physically going to school. That's the way that I understood it.
So the problem is that why would even if they're staying in home, why would they need education after 12? Because education after 12 means that they were pursuing a career. That's the only purpose of education after 12. And that's why Islamically, like, no, what the hell?
No, they
The
were
men is supposed to
encouraging
go
them
get
to go
education.
to madrasa. They were encouraging them to go to madrasa after
Yep.
12.
Okay, madrasa. Who's these people or
Mhm.
Taliban?
Taliban too. They
Okay.
allow it.
Yeah. Okay.
Apparently.
But what we okay, madrasa means just school. Okay, because in our mind, madrasa means an Islamic. Anyways, I'm not going to get into this,
It
right?
was Islamic
But
school. It's not
if you,
just school, it's Islamic school.
yeah, but how much? Again, this is a gateway to actual education. That's what the people are worried about, right? Because how much education do you require to just be able to understand the Quran and the Hadith? Not much. If you're learning about anything else that could potentially give you career opportunities, that is basically encouraging women to go get out of the house and get jobs and be independent and not dependent on their husband. And that is dangerous in their mind, in many of their minds. And again, within the Taliban, we have infighting as well over this. So it's not like the
Mhm.
Taliban
Mhm.
itself is co- it
There
has
was
competition.
also a really interesting discussion in this about how much of the Taliban's interpretation is really for all of
Orf.
Afghanistan versus Pashto, and what it means for
Yes.
that to be imposed on the other ethnicities and tribes in Afghanistan. I don't know if you want to touch on
They
that,
have
but I
this
found that discussion was really interesting.
there's this concept of Orf, which Islam allows for you to be flexible regarding what customs the method of enforcing Islam based on what is prevalent in your geography, right? So, and the Taliban uses that as an argument for why, like when
Mhm.
Turkey or Saudi Arabia or the UAE or Pakistan, when they criticize the Taliban for why are you doing this way in Afghanistan, this is not required Islamically. The Taliban refers to urf, which means that these are our customs. This is the most effective way to do Islam based on the customs that are here in this land. You could do Islam your own way, but do not tell us how to do Islam here in Afghanistan, especially given that you mofos were nowhere to be found when we were occupied by the United States, and you didn't tell us, you didn't come help us. You even sold weapons to our enemies. You helped aided our enemies, and now that we managed to liberate ourselves from the United States, now you all are coming in and meddling into our affairs, telling us how to do Islam. Where were you when we needed your help to basically get us free from America? And also, there was another part of the discussion that was very interesting. Many Afghans Afghanis, I should say, many Afghanis who want the Afghanistan to go back to the way things were before the Taliban took over, they make fun of them for being people who enjoyed the occupation, and by the occupation they mean when the United States was in Afghanistan and the government was basically supported by the by the United States. They're like, oh, these are people who want silly feminism, they want disco, they want alcohol, and now they're unhappy that they can't have alcohol, which is a very insulting way of reducing the desires and their hope for freedom and their hopes for progress into disco and silly feminism. It was a very I felt insulted on their behalf.
It's also
because-
like it's the same first grade level of understanding about why people leave Islam. Like, oh, you just want to leave Islam so you can eat pork, get tattoos, drink, have sex, and sin. It's like, no. That's not the case. Yeah. Can I say something that, to be honest, when I was watching this, so it's clearly two guys who are from a Muslim background and one guy who converted. And when I
Right.
was watching this, I continuously got the feeling in this interview that the convert guy is going way harder than the other guys, like saying more extreme
Yeah.
things because he needs to like prove himself. I haven't seen other content with that. I think his name is Robert. I haven't seen other content with him, so I'm not going to fully make that judgment. But watching this hour-long interview, that was the feeling I got. Where the other guys were like, the of the stock, like they were like kind of like, calm down, like don't say that, like.
Yeah, the
And
other guys were trying to make him chill. He was like, "Oh, you know what? We need the Taliban to come here to the UK and fix our
yeah, they're like,
education system."
whoa.
And the guy that is the head of 5 pillars is like, "Can we edit that part out?"
And then they didn't. Like,
yeah, that's his name. Wait, look, you can see his name. British Islamist
Robert, yeah.
journalist Robert Carter.
Carter.
Yeah, so
Which is
that's
so
amazing.
interesting because there is a
Right.
theme with converts becoming some of the most extreme.
Right.
There was a study that I still have, it's on my back burner that I need to read, that actually empirically studies if converts are more likely to become extremists, which is when I was that was just the impression I got. It was a vibe, it was a feeling in my stomach where I'm like, Robert, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. We know that you're Muslim. Like, you look like an average British dude, but you're all Muslim. Like, we believe you. Like, it's okay. You don't need
Yeah.
to you don't need to prove yourself. Like, I mean, you don't need my validation, Robert. Like, as a full-blown blaspheming infidel. Okay, I know you don't need my validation, but I'm here to say that I believe that you're a legit believing, practicing, very serious Muslim, and it's okay. You don't need to be saying the most brazy stuff. Like,
Okay.
anyways,
Before we get to the super chats, actually, there was one part of this interview that I was getting to, but then we changed the topic. Was the contradiction that the Dilly guy, the guy on the left, right? Wait, hold up. So this guy, right? Oh, go back. Yeah, this guy, right? So he was saying something that I thought that was a contradiction, guys, and you guys could go watch the entire interview and let me know if you think the same, right? So he was saying that Muslims that are coming to the UK, they are coming for economic reasons, right? They're not coming for your, Western way of life. They just doing because they want, improve their situation economically. But then that was, I think, in the middle of the discussion. But then at the very end, he comes and says, like, let us build a connection. Let us basically promote the Taliban, promote these Islamic countries, and build a connection between the Muslims in the UK and these other Islamic countries and their Islamic way of life. By the way, they were jealous how in Afghanistan they felt more of Islam than they in their own home countries. Like, he's from Bangladesh, and he when he goes to Bangladesh, he doesn't really feel Islam present in the same way that he felt it when he was in Afghanistan. So I think they felt the presence of Islam more in Afghanistan than any other country that they have been into, any other Islamic country that they have been into. And they liked it. They enjoyed that feeling, especially because they knew they could come back to the UK and enjoy their lives. But they liked the fact that everybody was just concerned with Islam. Everybody was concerned with Palestine. They're obsessed with Palestine. They want to do jihad for Palestine. And they enjoyed that atmosphere. But then at the end of the stream, he comes in at the end of the interview, he comes out and says that, let us build that connection, so that if you want people to go back there. But the reason why I think that's a contradiction is because the reason Muslims are coming to the UK is for the economic improvement. So Afghanistan being a S-hole would not encourage all of these Muslims to go to Afghanistan, no matter how Islamic it becomes, no matter how much promotion of Taliban you do, because the Taliban is not going to be able to provide the lifestyle that the Muslims are enjoying in the UK or in the rest of Europe. So your promotion and you building connection with the Taliban, the only thing it's going to do, it's not going to take Muslims from the UK to Afghanistan. It's going to bring more Islam from Afghanistan to the UK. That's the only thing it's going to do. It's not going to encourage any. I mean, Dili himself with these three mofos are the most Islamic-minded, some of the most Islamic-minded Muslims in the UK. More than the average Muslim in the UK, way more than the average Muslim. And they are saying like, yeah, I'm not going to go to Afghanistan because for different reasons, right? They all had their reasons why they're not going to go there. So if you guys went there and you were jizzing over how much Islamic the Taliban is, and that still didn't convince you to go there, what makes you think that building the connection and promoting the Taliban is going to make your average Muslim in the UK want to go? You guys, the most Islamic British people that there is, are still not going to go to Afghanistan. So we know what's happening here. The building of the connection is just going to make the Muslims in the UK want to have their cake and eat it too. Basically, they want to bring the Islamic version of the Taliban to the UK. They want to keep the lifestyle of the UK, but make it more Islamic. So that's the only thing that this is going to do. I don't know if he understood the contradiction, because he himself admitted at the beginning that this is an economic migration, not because of values. So if it's not because of values, then why would the values convince Muslims to go back to Afghanistan? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Whoops. Yeah, I do. And Dili's very honest. He says, to be honest, I can completely live in a Muslim bubble, to use his words, in the UK, and I'm comfortable living here. And I'm fine with that. And then basically they go on to discuss, we would leave under the circumstance that it becomes illegal and impossible for me to practice my faith in this land. Then they would be
so
admitted.
never. So if he's saying that, then why does he ask at the end of this discussion for the UK and others to let you build, or the right-leaning people, for them to let you to build that connection, for them to go back? Given everything you said, given that you said in the UK I will be able to create my Muslim bubble, I'm fine here. Given that you yourself are not going to go to Afghanistan, given that you yourself said that the Muslims that are coming to UK are coming for economic reasons, then given that all these three things, why would he then at the end ask for the bridge to be built between the Muslims in the UK and the Taliban, and for us to let you do that, with the understanding that this will make Muslims be able to go to Afghanistan? All of the things that you said in this discussion suggest that will not actually happen, that this will backfire, that this actually makes it worse. Do you understand what I'm saying? His conclusion at the very end is not in line with everything that he told us. That's an absolute contradiction. I think he's just trying to fool the far right. You're like, oh, you want us to go back to Afghanistan? Well, let us make a bridge and promote the Taliban. Like, you fool, you just gave us all the reasons why that will not happen.
There's one more thing I wanted to touch on, which is basically in the clip that we showed when he talks about being pro-Taliban, what's not included in the clip is Roshan goes on to say, he's like, well, let me be clear. I'm pro-Islam. And this is the closest thing that we have to a Sunni caliphate since the fall of the caliphate in the 20th century. So that's part of why they promote them so strongly. It is for the purposes of a khalifa. And so they're like, the Shias have Iran, like, we need our own thing now. This is the closest thing that we have. I'm very hopeful for what they can do. I'm speaking as him. Like, I wish them the best. I want to see more improvement. I want to see more outreach. And he goes on to say that in his role as the editor of Five Pillars, like, we are going to devote a lot more resources to covering Afghanistan, basically promoting what's going on there, by having a correspondent and all these other things. There was a few more things I wanted to touch on, which is, Armin, can you scroll down further in the article to see a clip of the main guy, Roshan, farther down, in a different interview. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you want to hear this? Should I play it? Okay.
I mean, I just see them as potential Muslims. That's like, I see a pub as a future mosque. That's what I'm here to do. Not to keep this country, not to be a minority in this country, in a non-Muslim majority country. I want this country to become Muslim, obviously through a process of dawah and not through violence or anything like that.
Wow.
So
okay.
he's a textbook nonviolent Islamist.
Okay, let's be clear regarding nonviolence here, okay? Because a lot of people want to celebrate nonviolence here. When they say nonviolent, it's because this is a Meccan phase. These are, if you actually start talking to these people and basically pin them down and basically make sure they answer all your questions, the reason why they're nonviolent is because they can't be violent. Not big. Okay, if is what Islam teaches you is that when you're the minority, when you don't have the army, when you don't have the strength to be able to defeat and crush your enemies, then that's the Meccan phase. That's what Muhammad did when he didn't have the upper hand. He would just go and do da'wah peacefully. Muhammad did da'wah peacefully, basically advertised Islam peacefully. And then with the Medini phase, when Muhammad had an army and he had a government, he had the rule, then he went and he used his armies to force Islam upon people. That's when he had an army. So when they're saying like, oh, we want to advertise Islam peacefully, they're advertising Islam peacefully because it would be stupid of them to do it with force, given that the armies of these Western countries will just crush you. Like, what the hell are you going to do? Like, you're going to do terrorism against the... I mean, the problem they have with ISIS is not that they're anti-violence. The problem they have with ISIS is so dumb to realize that they're not going to be able to defeat their enemies with the weaponry that they have. If you're in the UK, the police will be able to, if you arm yourself and want to do violence to force people to become Muslim, well, obviously that's not going to work. What the hell? Like, you're not going to be able to defeat the UK's police and military capability. That's why they're doing it peacefully. But once they have a caliphate, once they get to a point where they bring back the Islamic Empire, then that's the time. That's the only time where you actually now force people to abide by Islamic law. Again, force people to abide by Islamic law, not force people to become Muslim if they're Christian or Jew. Okay, then you have to force them to pay the jizya. But they have to abide. You have to force them to live by Islamic law. So don't think that Islam is non-violent. I mean, he's not doing taqiyya here. People are like, oh, he's saying that they're peaceful, so Islam is violent, so he's doing taqiyya. No, he's not doing taqiyya. This is honest, but this is the Meccan phase of Islam, that you have to be peaceful, because you can't win. You cannot win if you do the violence, right? So, does that make sense?
There's something in my mind about I feel like there was another point I wanted to make, but I can't remember it right now. So let's go through the super chats and comments because we have quite a few.
Wait,
Oh, I remember
okay,
what
I'm
I was
gonna
going to
go.
say.
Yeah,
Go
go on.
ahead.
And
You
I'm
can go.
gonna while you do the super chats. No, tell me that, and then I'm gonna go use the restroom while you read the super
No, this
chat.
is
So
a
tell me
comment
what
to
you
the
can say.
audience. So you can go.
Oh,
My comment is
okay.
basically, guys, a lot of this content is already out there. You don't have to believe us. You don't have to. Maybe it's helpful to have someone explain to you what some of these concepts are, what the terms are, and what they mean, like translate, like so forth. But you can go. These people produce a lot of content in English. You can go see for yourself the arguments that these Islamists make, why they believe what they believe, what is the kind of the background and thesis behind their ideology, you know. And that's something we really encourage people to do at Atheist Republic, because like we're not the sole source of truth. Like you can go watch for yourself and make and do your research and make your own conclusions. And we're not going to dictate, no, you guys can't watch that, oh my god, that's terrible, blah blah blah. I find it very informative to just go see, and I say it all the time, go see what people say for themselves, go see what they say among themselves, and you often walk away learning a lot. um So let's go through some of the comments we got earlier. Royce just became a new member. Thank you, Royce. Welcome to Satan's Minions, which is a great reminder to everyone that it is a great way to support the show, support the channel, support Atheist Republic as an organization, because there are many, many people that make this possible, not just me and Armin, by becoming a YouTube member, which you can do by hitting the join button down below. Or you can contribute via PayPal, and there's lots of amazing ways to support our work. So thank you, Royce. My friend, Young Atheist, is saying, Susanna, I messaged you on Instagram about some stuff. Basically, I deleted Instagram off my phone because was getting so distracted, but I will go look for your message. Because so I'm sorry if you've been waiting for a reply for a while. Oh, and John Bundock is sharing his enthusiasm about some Persian rappers I was talking about. Shapur butters his croissant. Love that saying. Um, I also really love the rapper Bahram. My favorite song by him is Biruk. So good. Azadi Tanafrush. Uh um so then Maximilian Musterman is saying, Armin and Susanna, why didn't you cover the attack in Mannheim 3 months ago? We actually did. It wasn't its own segment because it happened so quickly and so dramatically. It was like the day, like very briefly before we actually went into a stream. So we covered it when I was already talking about a different story, and we just like took that time to go ahead and like give our thoughts about it. So we did cover it. It just wasn't its own clip because it was so um like fresh that we just wanted to do it kind of off the cuff. Aiden is saying, fun fact, so subscribing to Atheist Republic protects you from any potential Mossad exploding phones. Pagers used by terrorists are not protected, however. That is an important asterisk on that. Thank you, Aiden, for being transparent in the terms of service. But yes, please that is how this works. Bull McLeod is saying Susanna got her amulet of Talos equipped, and a lot of people are thinking that this is a cross. Like this is not a cross. This is a little Cyprian idol of Pomos. But I do enjoy how triggered people are getting by the assumptions they're making about me, particularly including this person, Falcon, saying, what's the Arabic text in Susanna's background? Is she a secret Islamist? I'm sorry, Falcon, if you're a supporter and a lover of Atheist Republic, like I have to roast you right here because this is some dumb fuck shit. Pardon my language, but I can't help it. I just can't deal. This right here says Zan Zandegi Azadi, which means woman, life, freedom in Persian, and is probably one of the strongest anti-Islamist movements in the world right now, originating out of Iran. And I would implore you to familiarize yourself that there are numerous languages around the world that use an Arabized script. Millions of people that speak these different languages around the world, And every time you see words in like kind of this cursive, curly language that you don't understand, it's not Islamic. Oh my God, it's not Islamic just because you see something that looks like Arabic. Like there's a lot more to this world. So this
Maybe he's
idea,
joking.
like
It
I
cannot be.
but I can't tell. We know that there
Yeah.
the level of idiocy that we come across on a regular basis in the live chat, I can't assume that it's a joke. I legitimately cannot assume that it's a joke. So I just can't. I can't deal.
I mean,
I can't deal.
I'm gonna assume he's joking because I can't believe somebody would be that. Yeah. By the way, even if it was Arabic, we have so many. I mean, not every Arabic text has to do with Islam.
But Armin,
And-
remember we
yeah.
covered a few months ago the story of a woman who was wearing a dress in Pakistan that just had halwa in Arabic on it, which just means sweet.
Yes, you're right.
And she literally almost got lynched by a mob in the middle of Lahore because she was just wearing a dress with Arabic calligraphy on it, and then everyone around her thought that it was the Quran. So apparently, I mean, there are entire populations that make that assumption. So how can I assume that someone in the live chat isn't making the same mistake? Like
there was okay, so there was many I don't know, many years ago, I remember in Iran, people were peeing somewhere too much, and to stop them, they wrote Arabic on the wall that was not the Quran, but because it was Arabic, people assumed that it's the Quran and they stopped peeing there to not get in trouble. So
that's hilarious. Hey, if it works, it works. This is so Zaid is saying these people are missing out on all the anti-Islam Arabic memes. True. Maximilian is also saying the Taliban is the official government of Afghanistan. It can hardly be described as a terrorist group anymore. It is. It is.
I
the de
wanted to
facto,
highlight this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what is I disagree with you because you're saying the official government of Afghanistan. What makes, when you consider something official, it means that it's been recognized as the government of Afghanistan, right? And because it hasn't been recognized as the government, I mean, these are definitions of words that is based on agreements that we have with each other, right? And if the world hasn't officially recognized the Taliban as the government of Afghanistan, then technically, by those standards, they could still be considered a terrorist group. And also, if we want to apply your standard, then the UK is wrong to consider Hamas a terrorist group, because the Hamas is the official government of Gaza. So by that standard, the Hamas cannot be described as a terrorist group anymore, because by definition, if you want to say if it's officially a government, then it's not a terrorist group, then Hamas is not a terrorist group. I mean, I'm not saying, I know these are just definitions and we could come up with a way, it's based on us how we want to define it, based on agreements how we want to define words. But I think that any definition of terrorism that does not consider Hamas a terrorist group is not an effective definition. Like we use definitions based on the utility and of those words, and I don't think, like, I mean, if calling Hamas not a terrorist group does not mean that you're endorsing Hamas. You're just trying to be precise with how you use language. But I'm just appealing to utility of definitions to say that given that this definition would not consider Hamas to be a terrorist group, we have to rethink the definitions, how we define terrorism.
Okay, and I think we already clarified this, but Kenya is asking Dar al-Kufr is land of not Islam. Yeah. So Flying Robot Duck just gifted an Atheist Republic membership to someone. Well, thank you. That's very generous. Oh, this is a great question for Armin while I go get more coffee. I'm not sure how to say this name. Yo Lemin, whatever. saying, I'm confused about the word
Mhm.
liberal because we need liberalism to fight Islam, yet we have the leftists slash libtards as biggest supporters of extremist Muslims and mullahs in Iran. Please help me understand. Well, long story short, they're not legit liberals, but I'll let Armin take that away.
Yeah, I mean, so the people who you're calling leftists, again, we say leftist not to everybody on the left. I think the word leftist is used for a specific kind of people on the left that are either into woke ideology or Marxist ideology, or basically these two, which both of them tend to be okay with uniting with Islamic movements. And here's a hint why they're not liberal. So the leftists that you're referring to, the way that you can tell that these people are not liberal is because they consider liberals to be their greatest enemy. Leftists, or either Marxist or Wokistani Mujahideen people, they actually hate liberals more than they hate any other group. They hate liberals more than they hate the fascists. In fact, they have a saying, they say cut a liberal and a fascist bleeds, because they think that liberals are the tool in which fascism comes to power. Their main enemy of these leftists are the liberals. So I don't the way you're asking the question maybe suggests that you think that these people are the same groups of people, and that's the trick that the leftists use. The reason why leftist ideology is so insane that it will not be able to grow on its own. The only way leftist ideology manages to survive is by using liberal terminology to sell its ideas, and that's why a lot of people get confused between these leftists and liberals. But if you actually go study them, you will realize that leftists are actually the enemies of liberals, and they're the greatest enemy of liberalism today are these leftists. And that's the reason behind why leftists support Islam or extremist Muslims. Ask yourself, why would leftists, given that a lot of the things that they believe in completely contradicts Islam, why would leftists support Muslims? Do you think they're just doing it willy-nilly, like they're just feeling like, yeah, let's just go ahead and just randomly do that? Why would leftists support, as you say, an extremist Muslim? I wouldn't call it extremist Muslims, I would call them fundamental Muslims, because they're being true to the fundamentals of Islam. But why would they support that? It's because leftists, just like Marxists before them, realize that they are powerless against liberalism. Liberalism is just too powerful for leftists. Leftists are unorganized. Leftists are too pathetic and weak to be able to be a force against liberalism. Liberalism has
Too
basically
obsessed with purging and destroying their own leadership. They're literally
Yeah.
or what is it called? The Ouroboros, the snake eating itself, personified.
Yes.
Bunch of losers.
No, but what? But a lot of people make fun of leftists for supporting Islamism or Islam, but it's not. But that's because they don't understand what the goal is. Have you asked yourself? Liberal values is in contradictory to Islam. So I mean, it promotes their freedom of expression, but the values that it holds is contradictory to Islam. But why would leftists support? Like, I know a lot of you in the live chat make fun of leftists for supporting these Muslims, but have you asked yourself why? What's the end goal? Why would they be doing that? It's because they share an enemy. Liberalism, the word liberal order, is the shared enemy of fundamentalist Muslims or Islam, basically the Islamic ideology, an Islamic ummah, an Islamic caliphate, or an Islamic imamate. Uh, and also leftist ideology and Marxist ideology. These three ideologies, basically wokeism, Marxism, and Islam, have a shared enemy, a global order that they all want to dismantle. That's why they work with each other. That's why they unite. So your question actually includes the answer. You're saying, why are these leftists working with extremist Muslims? Because they have a shared enemy in liberalism. They both want to dismantle and fight and destroy liberalism, the world liberal order. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. Next story is, next super chat from GJ saying, shouldn't this guy go to Dubai for a better lifestyle? Meaning like a balance between the the Islam of Afghanistan and the luxury of Dubai. Armin, how do you think they would
You will
react to
find
such a
less
thing?
of Islam in Dubai than in London. I don't know. The Islam that these people are looking for, there's less of that in Dubai than in London. I mean, these people consider the UAE and Saudi Arabia and the greatest betrayers. I mean, the main thing, one of the things that they were enjoying so much when they were in Afghanistan is the obsession over Palestine, right? That's one thing that they were when they were there. They were so it warmed their hearts to experience. So why would they go to Dubai, the main city of a country that is leading the way in normalizing ties with Israel? Like, these are the greatest traitors of the Ummah. So they're not going to get that. They're not going to get that in Dubai. They will get that, the feelings that they're getting in Afghanistan. They will get that more in London than they would ever get that in Dubai. I mean, Dubai is the heart of the shifting of the attention to the dunya instead of the akhirah. In the Arab world, is leading the way in, basically in their minds, it's leading the way in corrupting the minds of Muslims. So yeah, that would not be a good place for them.
As a side note, Nace is going after me in the live chat for something I said about Portugal, and I cannot for the life of me think of what I've said about Portugal recently. Was I talking about, oh, are you pissed about the whole decolonization thing? Is that why you're being sensitive? Oh my lord. Oh, if that's what it is, nah. Okay. You know what? Never mind, man. Vidi Veritas is saying, was waiting for Susie. Now I can be a member. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, it doesn't look like you've become a member yet, but if you do, thank you.
Thank you.
Second Shaitan gave a super chat with no comment.
Oh, that is beautiful. Look at the way. Okay, so his or her profile pic is basically written Shaitan in Arabic, but it's in one of those circles and written in a way, you know how you celebrate important Islamic figures, but instead of that, it has written Shaitan there. Hold on, let me see if I can find the book. No, not this book. Oh, here. So you see, like this, like important Islamic figures, right? You will like write their name in a circle and like in calligraphy or Arabic text, okay? But he's doing that with the devil in Arabic, Shaitan in Arabic. That's beautiful. I love it. I want that.
Okay, so the next comment. Oh, someone on Twitch. Hey guys, by the way, you can watch us on Twitch. Is saying, I 100% agree. Us Muslims need to go back to our countries. Okay, well,
Well, can you take at least 10 people with you? Can you please convince people to go with you? Thank you.
I support legal and voluntary immigration. That's fine. So Kenny is saying, what does build stronger connections to the motherland mean? To be fair, when he was talking about it in this interview, he didn't expand upon that very much.
basically means that building a bridge between the Muslims, for example, in the UK and Afghanistan, building networks, building education, da'wah, promoting them, building basically communication institutions that are working with each other across borders, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, working with terrorists from the UK. So basically, that's what it means.
Asian American is saying the retirement age for Chinese women is 50. My mom is choosing between a safe Shanghai subways and leaving me and my brother generational wealth. Hey, to be honest, if anyone wants to go like immigrate to the US, build up their wealth, and then go back to their home country with like American purchasing power, that sounds freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie. If you earn your money in USD, you can go live like a king in so many different places around the world. Like, I am not mad at it. I know so many people who immigrate to America to work here because Europeans too, because they can just get paid so much more and go back home and live like a king. Like, I'm straight up not mad at it. That just sounds like smart. You can retire so much earlier. And I mean, I can't remember where your mom is living, Gaijin, but I mean, yeah, I don't, like, for example, like, I don't live in New York because I don't think it's safe enough. If there's an elderly person that doesn't want to live there because it doesn't feel safe, I don't blame them, to be honest. And the lack of political will to actually make the subway safe is like a whole issue unto itself. But yeah, it's a tricky thing. GJ gave a super chat and said, if you only have one citizenship, then your primary loyalty is legally set in stone, but dual citizenship, like over 1 million Dutch people, should be forced to choose a primary in their passports. That's just not how things work. Like,
wait, is that how they do it in? No, I mean,
no, he's saying how it
where
should
do they
be.
do that? Why?
Yeah.
Why should it be like that? I don't think it should be like what. Like, guys, don't force people when it's not to do things, when it's not required. More freedom, guys. More freedom. We're on the side of more freedoms. Okay, let people do what they want to do as long as they're not hurting anybody.
And also, it depends on the nation state involved. There are some nation states that do not allow you to have dual citizenship. If you become a citizen in their country, you have to give up citizenship in your original country. That's the case for some for some countries. That's the nature of the social contract they have. If you decide to engage in that, you're free to do so. There are other countries like Iran where they do not let you give up your legal citizenship because they want to own that ass so they can come after you. So yeah, there's a lot of variety. My God, I'm hitting this a lot today. Sorry, guys.
You should get a stand like me,
I know,
so
I
that it's not
should.
on your desk.
That would help
Yeah.
me with typing as well. John, thank you for the super chat saying the guys who made Hijra forced their regime all over Syria, betrayed, killed activists, killed Kurds, Druze, etc., stabbed the 2011 revolution in the back. See, yeah, it can have negative consequences as well. The second Shaitan gave another super chat saying, damn Donald Trump for dragging soldiers out of Afghanistan. I have mixed feelings about the removal of forces from Afghanistan. I'm not even gonna lie.
I have criticism for the way it was done, but I don't have criticism from the United States. Was basically doing something that was undoable in Afghanistan. That had to I think it was reasonable for the United States to pull out of Afghanistan. I think the criticism that we we have is the methodology, the lack of planning for taking care of the Afghani people who work with the United States, leaving them behind without protection, the speed in which it was done,
So
the lack of
shameful.
preparation. Yeah, so yeah, the methodology was wrong, bad, horrible. But the United States should have left like I mean, me and Susanna agree that the United States should have left Afghanistan. They were basically trying to, guys. Again, I'm gonna say this one more time. Again, some people are gonna get offended. The Taliban is the natural state, the government for Afghanistan. It is a true reflection of the ideology and the mindset that people have in Afghanistan. There is no force in the world, even godlike powers of the United States cannot change, cannot force upon people. You cannot create something that does not belong to that land. The Taliban, the reason why no matter how much you fight the Taliban, they will keep coming back is because that is just how, that is what people want.
That's
people
their
want
home.
Sharia law.
It's
Yeah,
also the home
you
field
cannot,
advantage.
yes, you cannot, United States is just wasting US taxpayer money on something that was undoable, right? It was something that is undoable. It is, you could go study why this was, United States was able to do this with Japan, and it was able to do this with Germany, but it's incapable. Why the United States was incapable of doing the same thing with Afghanistan and Iraq? It's because when it comes to Germany and Japan, you were basically removing something that was unnatural and replacing it with something that was more reflective. However, with Afghanistan, you were doing basically the opposite, and you cannot engineer something like that. You have to change the culture and the people before you get there.
And let me be clear, Armin and I have zero delusions about how devastating the consequences of that are. Like, this is not an apologism in any way, shape, or form for like we talk about it all the time, this sheer level of deprivation that people are experiencing. Both of those things can be true, and it's not an endorsement. Oh, John gave another super chat, thanking me for my Persian rap suggestions. It's true. I'm literally blasting it in the car the other day. Amit Yanuka gave 15 shekels, saying, I met a Muslim man named Abad today who called his son a slave. What the fuck is wrong with this father? I need a
Slave
lot
of who?
more
Slave
context.
of Allah? I mean, Abdullah is a common name in Islam, meaning the slave of Allah. In Islam, everybody is a slave of Allah. You should want to be the slave of Allah. It's something to be proud of. Abdullah, you heard the name Abdullah? That means the slave of Allah. So basically, Islam teaches you that you should replace the slavery to, like, everybody is a slave. However, well, not, yeah. So when I said everybody is a slave of Allah, I was wrong. Everybody is a slave to something. So it's a matter of what you want to be a slave to. Islam teaches you, do you want to be a slave to wealth? Do you want to be a slave to fame? Do you want to be a slave to this or that? Muslims are the people who have chosen to be the slave of Allah, which is the best thing to be a slave of. If you say like, oh, what the hell, you guys are proud of being slaves, the Islamic way is like, you guys are tricking yourself. You are all slaves. We just pick the best thing to be a slave to as Muslims. That's their response.
Yeah, but that's why I say I need a lot more context. Like, he call his son a slave. Like, slave to what? Himself? Like God? Like, what do you mean? Bull McLeod gave a super chat saying, I've never said a serious thing in my life. Thank you for the super chat, Bull McLeod. As we learned yesterday from a hater in the live chat, I'm not a serious entity either. If I still had Twitter, I'd like put that in a bio. Like, quote, not a serious entity. So funny.
Wait, talking about slaves, should I show you the candy that they make in Palestine?
No, that's a whole diversion.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
GJ gave a super chat saying, off topic, but then again, I've joked in the past that AR has several things in common with religion. Today, I include one extra factor, always need more money, but serious, why no sponsors? And then followed up with, I know it doesn't, wait, where did it go? Susanna could do with suppliers of eyeglasses like Professor of Rock Steady, Zenny deal Armin always values capitalism, so no sponsoring. GJ, it's very simple. We are a 501c3 charity in the United States. That means we are a non-for-profit organization, which means that we have restrictions upon us about the kinds of sponsorships and stuff that we can do. An eyeglasses deal falls far outside of those legal obligations. Why do we keep asking for money? Because we ask for money the same way that any other charity and nonprofit asks for money, because that is literally the business model of a nonprofit. The same way that UNICEF asks for money so that they can do their administration, so that they can implement their programs. We have the same business model. And with that comes certain other restrictions from us, from the government. It's pretty, yeah. I hope that clarified things. We got another super chat from Mike saying, "Hello, Armin. I've done some filming in Afghanistan. I'd love to appear on your podcast to reinforce your point."
Oh, interesting. Well, we'll see. Like, message me on Twitter, and I'll see if I can make time for it. But no promises, okay? But message me on Twitter.
And Second Shaitan gave another super chat. Let me decipher this. Thank you for the 50 Swedish krona. That's generous. Saying, how many verses does it exist in Quran bespice? Maybe you mean between both Shia and Sunni. Everybody have a verse to argue about the truth of Muhammad's history. Also, you rock. I apologize, Second Shaitan. I don't fully understand the question. Are you asking for what is the similarity between Shia and Sunni Quranic verses? I think that's the question.
Okay, I don't know what the question is, but I'm just gonna say that there are verses in the Quran that the Sunnis refer to show that they are correct, and there are also verses in the Quran that Shias use to show that they have the correct interpretation. I don't know if that answers your question. I do think that Sunnis make more sense when it comes to whether or not, if the Quran was true, if you assume that the Quran is true, then I would think that the natural conclusion would be more in line with Sunni Islam than Shia Islam. It's just so bizarre. Yes, it's so bizarre to suggest that the whole point of Islam was for Ali and Hussein and Mehdi and Fatima. That was the for that to eventually be a thing without any reference to it in the Quran. Like the Quran, this was the most important part of Islam that Allah had somehow completely forgotten to, or decided to not directly mention it in the Quran. It's such a bizarre conclusion. So
I might be a secret Shirazi Shia. Okay, but even I can recognize.
Yes. When it comes to marketing, Shia Islam is like more interesting. You know, when it comes to storytelling, Shia Islam has Sunni Islam beat, but when it comes to making sense within the context of, if you could make sense within the
internal logic,
Islam,
yeah.
Internal, if you presume the Quran as the actually word of God, then Sunni Islam would be the natural conclusion, not Shia Islam.
See, guys, we're very honest. Are you gonna get other atheist creators saying that? Wait. Oh, he replied saying, "I mean, how many groups plus their verse?" I'm sorry, Shaitan. That actually made me more confused.
How many
groups plus the verse?
Are you saying that Shias and Sunnis have added verses to the Quran that is specifically for Shias and Sunnis? If you're asking that, none. Okay, the verses, the Sunnis and Shia have the same verses in the Quran. They both have the same Quran. They don't have different Qurans. So there is no additional verses that Shias believe in or the Sunnis believe in. If that's the question.
Mm-hmm. Then Kenny gave a super sticker with no comment. Thank you, Kenny. Kenny, by the way, I have to give him a shout out for being one of our most amazing volunteers. Shouts out to Kenny. I have meetings with him like every week. And also it was his birthday recently, I think. So happy birthday, Kenny.
Birthday.
GJ gave another super chat. So saying, speaking about his thing about if you have dual citizenship, you should like make a primary one. Following
Wait, before you read this, can I feel bad for our shaitan saying, all right, sorry. Like she's
Sorry for what?
trying to ask us. No, because I feel bad for her because she's trying to ask us a question and she can't get it through. And I feel bad that she spent 2 super chats trying to get her question in, her or his question in, and we didn't get it. I really feel bad for some reason. Sorry, Shaitan.
Well, Shaitan, do not
It's okay.
apologize if this is like a
Yeah.
language issue. Like maybe Google Translate can help you a little bit to make it more clear so that we can
Yeah.
answer your question better.
But I don't want her to keep spending money. Like I'll try to keep an eye for your messages. Okay.
Fair enough. Okay, so back to GJ super chat saying, I know it doesn't work like that yet in terms of declaring a primary citizenship, but it ought to. Rights and obligations that came with each citizenship can conflict. Therefore, declaring a primary is something that international law needs.
The combat issue. No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
I
why?
think that the reason why liberal countries, the way that works is for maximum freedoms, right? If we have your citizenship coming with more obligation that is required, we are liberals. We're for liberty. We want minimum state involvement. We want minimum control by the government. If your government is coming in and asking for certain obligations as a citizen, then we're getting close to we're steering away from liberalism and we're getting closer to fascism.
Okay. And Asian American was saying, why do you think the People's Republic of China was able to reform away from Maoist nonsense, but Iran and Afghanistan was unable? Well, presumably because of political will and expediency.
One's unable to reform from Maoist nonsense.
Like in,
I mean, they're going
Iran,
back to it, aren't they?
like there's a high motivation from Khamenei for Iran to just be made in his image. Like, so why would he reform away from that? Like,
yep. I think able to assumes a motivation that was not achieved. All these people that you're mentioning, they're doing the thing that is best for them staying in power, right? So if you're saying why in Iran they were unable to, in Afghanistan they were unable to, you're assuming that there was a motivation to do so and they failed at it. The problem is that the motivation was not there to begin with, because for the regime, they basically went along with what they needed to do to maintain more power. And the same thing happened in China, the same thing happened in Afghanistan.
yeah. Okay. And GJ sent another super chat saying, okay, thanks for the information. In Netherlands, it's good, just make no profit. Okay, well, yeah, the laws and regulations are different. We have different obligations. Michael gave a super chat just saying cats or dogs? Dogs all the way. 100% dogs all the way. I don't trust cats. Cats will literally eat you 1 hour after you die. They will start eating you and living inside your own freaking carcass. I swear to God, this is not even a lie. Like your body won't even be cold. They'll start eating you. They're waiting. They're looking at you and they're waiting.
Hey, stop!
Dogs will wait until they are starving before they start eating you. That says something. That's real love.
Just pick dogs without hating on cats. We're gonna lose all our anti-cat fans, like all our cat fans. Okay, just pick dogs and move on. Just pick the dogs and move on. Stop hating on cats.
I have an obligation to
look
warn
at this.
I have an obligation to warn our audience that you see a furry fluff ball, but they look at you like a steak just waiting to keel over before they climb inside your freaking chest cavity.
Look, you're upsetting people. You're upsetting our cat people.
I'm just being dramatic. Oh my god. Okay, you know what? The only cats that I like are Zaid's cats. Zaid has been sending me photos of his cats since I met him years ago. Okay? And they are freaking adorable cats. I'm not gonna lie. But I know that they lie in wait.
Oh,
And Zaid, I'm here to protect your
look at
back.
this.
Your cats will eat your freaking heart. GJ is saying,
I love both. I just prefer dogs, but I love both.
GJ is saying, Armin, I like what you want, but that's not the law.
Well, it should be the law.
What-
What do you like? It's not
Well,
the law.
also,
As
what
if,
you
as if,
want is
as if.
what you want is not the law.
Yeah, no, yeah, and as if it was the law, that would make it okay. If that's the law, then they should change the freaking law. Like, obviously, it's not what I want. It's what has been shown to work. We have empirical data to know that this works.
And Michael gave a 20-pound super chat. Thank you, Michael, saying you made me laugh. Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
supporting the channel.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just here to be silly, okay? I actually don't have a hatred towards cats. I just wouldn't
Yeah.
own one. Kind of because I've always grown up in dog families, and I kind of don't know how cats work. I don't know how to relate to them. It's a cultural barrier.
Yeah, I well, it's because, yeah, me too. Like, I understand dogs, but because I have dogs, so I feel like I could, when they're doing things, I know what they're trying to communicate with me. When I see other people's cats, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know, are we communicating? Are you saying something to me? Are you trying to say something to me? But when I see a dog, I just get it. I just understand, like, they're upset now, they're happy, they're angry with me, they want me to open the door. I feel like there's a communication happening. I feel like there's a bond here.
Yeah.
But again, maybe if I had a cat, then I would understand the cat, like, body language as well.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.